Let's make clay! I got this recipe from Clay Lab for Kids, written by Cassie Stevens. I highly recommend the book for its projects. You'll need flour, salt, and water for a small batch. If you'd like to make a larger batch, and this would be good for families with 2 or more children, go ahead and grab 2 cups of flour, half a cup of salt, and 3/4 cup of water. You are going to mix all 3 ingredients in a bowl, adding the water a little bit at a time. As soon as the dough becomes doughy enough to work with your hands, you can turn it out on the table. Feel free to add a little more water if it's not combining well. Just add a tablespoon at a time, as it will quickly become too sticky, and then you'll play the game of a little more flour, a little more water, a little more flour, a little more water. Just tiny little bits of water until you get the right consistency. Knead it until it is no longer sticky, and store it in plastic wrap until you're ready to use it. If you would like to add food coloring and not paint your clay after it has dried, but actually color it ahead of time, grab some food coloring, roll a small bit of clay into a ball, flatten it into a slab, and then this would be a good time to go ahead and put on your gloves if you do not want food coloring dye all over your hands. So once you've got a little slab or a coin, choose which one of the primary colors, red, yellow, or blue, that you'd like to make first. I added about 3 drops to my small coin of clay, and then I'm going to very carefully fold it up like a little taco and work that clay and work the coloring into the clay without getting a ton of pigment on my fingers, which you will see I am not entirely successful at. So just continue to work the clay. Now this is my cheater way of getting secondary colors. So if you want orange, start with yellow and add a very tiny bit of red. You're always going to need more of a lighter color when you're mixing colors. So I started with yellow clay and then I added a tiny dab of red. This will give me the secondary color of orange. I'm very carefully going to work this clay, and just remember you're adding liquid. So the clay might become stickier. Keep a tiny amount of flour on hand if it becomes so sticky that it's breaking off and sticking to your hands and not staying a consistent, workable texture. So there I've mixed red and yellow to create orange, which is a secondary color. I'm now going to take another small piece of yellow, form it into a ball, flatten it into a slab or a coin, and this time, to get green, I'll add a very small amount of blue. Again, you'll always need more of the lighter color when you're mixing. So now we'll have the secondary color of green. And again, I'm carefully folding it together, trying to avoid it getting all over my hands. But no big deal if it does, just wash your hands before you mix your next color. This same process can be repeated to get purple, only you won't start with yellow. For purple, you'll need to start with red or blue and add red or blue to it. So if I start with red, I would add equal amount of blue to it to get purple. So there's my secondary color of green. Hooray! Again, remember to store your unused clay in a plastic bag and then put that plastic bag in the fridge until you're going to use your clay. Here's another method I like to use for mixing clay. Take 2 primary colors, in this case, red and yellow, little pinch of each, even amounts. You can always adjust later. Roll each piece into a coil and then twist those coils together and work these 2 coils until you get a swirl that you like. You could always use that swirl colored clay, or continue mixing until you get a secondary color. And again, what secondary color will you get if you mix red and yellow. You're going to get orange. So remember to store these in a plastic bag and have fun.